Hey, what's going on, y'all? Yeah, this is a little quick review of myself that I have for Sinners. All in all, I give it about 7.58 at its highest out of 10. I feel like there's a lot of things that it could have done better. I feel like there's a lot of things it did good. For one, I do like how it was shot. I do like the actors in there. I like the timeline. I like the scenery. I like the cinematography. I like the choice of issues that they put upon some of the characters, but I also don't like some of that because I feel like it was cliche, such as the relationship aspect. When you look at it, it's like Michael B. Jordan had two love interests in the movie because there's two different Michael B. Jordans, Smoke and Stack, right? But it was almost like cliche, like I've been gone for a long time, I miss you type of thing. Another one's like I've been gone for a long time because I left you and I also miss you. And it's kind of like that throughout the movie where I kind of don't care too much for their relationships in general. I do, but I felt like it wasn't built up enough and I felt like there was a lot of other useless things in there. I honestly don't care too much for the Sammy character, if I'm gonna be honest. Um, Not because he's a bad character, but to put so much light on him and then also try to fit everyone else into a movie that even though it was about 2 hours and some change, it didn't feel like it, which isn't a bad thing. It's just, if I'm gonna sit here and compare it to anything, I would have to do something like Lovecraft Country. That was a really good show, but it also gave time for the lead characters to actually build up something within, while introducing other characters. One, because it's a TV show, right? So they have more leeway to make that time. This just kind of felt like we're throwing it in there, these 11 interests here, here, boom, boom, bam. And I was just like, I kind of didn't care too much what really happened. Um, but other than that, it was pretty good. I also didn't like the fact that, okay, here's a spoiler. Um, if you're a vampire and your goal is to get inside of a house or a place that is protected, if you're inside, why would you leave? You know what I mean? It doesn't make any sense. You already proved you're stronger than them in the sense of they go to shoot you and it has zero effect on you. Nothing. Does nothing to you. You get up, throw somebody around. You have the element of surprise. Not once does it happen, but twice it happens. So in that instance, I'm thinking, I'm not too sure how that really makes sense. And you're trying to get back into the place when you were already inside. You know what I mean? So yeah, I wasn't too big a fan on that aspect. I also feel like um it could have did a little bit better with the climax fight. The build up was getting to a point where it was like it was kind of there and then it was over with. Now when I compare it again to something, I'll compare it to From Dusk Till Dawn because in Dusk Till Dawn, you really felt like they had to fight to stay alive while they were inside of that bar. And the crazy thing is, if you haven't seen Dust Till Dawn, spoiler, they're basically inside the vampire's home. You know what I mean? But I feel like the characters in Dust Till Dawn were able to put up more of a fight than the people in Sinners. Because if you look at Dust Till Dawn, you have like bikers who are usually people in shape, kind of in a sense, or they have that badass image where they're fighters, they have guns, they have weapons, things like that. They have experience in combat. You could look at it that way. Now, when you go to Sinners, you have Michael B. Jordan's character who was useful. You have the woman who is basically a voodoo priestess, so she's useful in the sense of like the preacher from Dust Till Dawn, correct? Then you have Sammy, no combat experience, get him out of here. Then you have his Sammy's little girlfriend in there, no useless. Then you have the Asian woman, the store clerk, useless. Then you have a drunk. He's still a grown man, so he has some usefulness to him, but at the end of the day, it's just not enough to want to really say, well, okay, but you know what I mean? You can't add it up. And as soon as the climax starts up, you're going to be like, okay, they're about to be in for a long night of trying to keep them out of the barn. Another spoiler. the Asian shop lady tells them, "Hey, come on in, motherfucker," and it's like, what? You know what I mean? So you're looking at it that way, and it kind of doesn't make too much sense. And that aspect of that was pretty quick. I thought they were gonna go through like a lot of trials, like maybe trying to escape out to run somewhere else, or trying to bombard the place, trying to run in a lot more. They just stood outside dancing. You could have literally just stayed in there. Now, when I look at movies such as Fright Night, if you haven't seen that, spoiler, um, he was able to enter the house by blowing it up. So if there is no house, then there's no rule that you can't just go in. You know what I mean? So that was something that I did like. But with vampires, it's kind of iffy. You don't really know what type of lore they're going by. So, it's I can't really fault them too much for that. But I don't know if vampires can't damage a house or a place that is protected from the outside. You know what I mean? Like all the people that had left out of the barn, that they turned into vampires, it was kind of weird. It's like y'all drove. Why didn't you just have them take the cars and drive it into the barn? That way they could have got them outside even quicker, maybe. Destroyed it down from the outside, force them to come outside. So it was things like that, and I felt like I like movies that have messages in them, but at the same point, you can't like get past certain things that are filmed in a movie. You know what I mean? How you shoot it is how you shoot it. So I have to take that for how it is. I do like how they dove into, struggles and, like black magic, and how every culture has their own form of, magic within them in a sense, and how music connected everybody culturally. Um, but I also felt like they didn't do too good with letting Sammy shine in that aspect. There was that scene in the bar. I feel like people were not bar, basically barn, where people were talking about, oh, watch Sammy play his banjo. And the thing is, like, a lot of people I feel are just riding a coattail where they're like, that was my favorite scene is when he was playing the music. But at the same time, a lot of these same people are saying that are only regurgitating what they've heard other people say because they don't want to look like they're left out or hating or something like that. uh, the reality is a lot of these people wouldn't even listen to blues or anything like that on their own time. If you were in a car with somebody and you put on blues, they would look at you kind of crazy and be like, "Yo, what's that, bro? Like, I ain't trying to really hear that right now." Let's be honest. A majority of these people are only trying to listen to Kevin Gates and Sexy Red or NBA YoungBoy or something. You know what I mean? Or Taylor Swift or something like that. So it's kind of like I can't let y'all trick me into believing that this is something that you really understood from the beginning because of the dance scene. I do like the blues. I do listen to a lot of different type of genres of music. Um, Jazz. I listen to Japanese music, K-pop, anime music, R&B, rap, um, bossa nova. So it really isn't nothing new to me. Um, but I felt like they could have dug a little more into Sammy's importance in the movie as opposed to just what they did. Because earlier in the movie when they introduced the Native Americans, who are usually really deeply rooted in their mysticism and things like that, they're usually more aware of the supernatural and stuff. So it kind of made sense that they understood about the vampires. I wish they kind of gave more of a backstory of what happened and how they ended up running him out. But I felt like they could have took that opportunity to have the Native Americans run into Sammy and them, and maybe along the way warn them when they were driving, and be like, "Oh, I sense a deep power within you," or something like that. Like give a little forewarning about certain attributes of him and what his importance is. If you ever seen the show, I think it was four. Um, I think it was that. Don't quote me, but there's a season two where there's a son in that show, and I also might have to get into that a little bit later, but I won't do too much right now. But I almost felt like his importance wasn't really that important. It's almost like the son in that show until the end, where it's like, okay, the main people you really want to see is the Michael B. Jordan and his love interest, and see how that go. I felt like they still have room to incorporate a lot more. But it was a good movie. It is worth the watch. I'm not gonna hold y'all too long, but Yeah, solid 7.5, 8 out of 10 at its highest. I do watch breakdown videos, so I don't really care too much to hear. Well, you got to go check out the back. Yeah, I do that too. I watch a lot of those breakdown videos and like Hereditary. When I watched that movie, I love that movie. I went back and watched the breakdown. Things that have hidden meaning behind them, and then you keep watching them is very interesting to me. So I wouldn't mind watching this again or a couple more times, maybe three times, but it's not something I feel like it's my go-to movie. It's not too much of a horror. It's more of like a action thriller. It feels, I guess, with horror elements. But yeah, 7.5, 8 out of 10, y'all. Thank you.